Be me, 27-year-old female, been feminist activist since college. Always believed male anger comes from losing patriarchal power. Men are upset because women don't need them anymore. Spend time on social media calling out toxic masculinity. Recently notice increase in male hostility online and offline. Angry comments on my feminist posts getting more intense. You destroyed everything good about relationships. Hope you enjoy dying alone with your cats. Assume it's just typical misogynist backlash to female progress. But comments seem different lately, more personal and hurt. Attend family barbecue. Notice my cousin Jake seems really bitter. He's 28, good-looking, has decent job in engineering, but constantly making sarcastic comments about women. Oh great, another strong, independent woman lecture. When female cousin talks about her career success. Used to be sweet kid, now he's angry and cynical about everything. Pull him aside to ask what's wrong with his attitude lately. You really want to know? You won't like the answer. Explains he's been single for 3 years, despite trying everything. Dating apps, meetup groups, blind dates, nothing works. Women my age only want guys who make 6 figures and look like models. Describes being rejected for height, income, social media followers. Shows me his dating app with 0 matches after months. But I'm the problem for being frustrated, right? Start arguing with him about unrealistic expectations. Maybe work on your personality instead of blaming women. Jake gets genuinely angry, shows me screenshots from dating conversations, women asking about salary, car, apartment before meeting. I'm not bitter about losing privilege, I never had any. Describes feeling invisible to women his entire adult life. Weekend later, attend college friend's wedding. Sit at singles table with mix of men and women in their 30s. Notice stark difference between male and female attitudes. Women complaining about quality of available men. Where are all the good guys? Everyone's either broke or weird. Men mostly quiet, making dark jokes about permanent bachelorhood. Marriage is just an expensive way to hate someone you used to love. Conversation reveals these men tried dating for years, exhausted by constant rejection and impossible standards. Several mention giving up entirely on romantic relationships. Not worth the humiliation anymore. Friend Sarah complains that her dating app matches are terrible. Guys my age are all losers living with roommates. I deserve someone successful who has his life together. Meanwhile, guy next to her just lost job due to company downsizing. He's 32, college educated, but struggling in tough economy. Sarah's comments obviously hurt, but she doesn't notice or care. Realize she's dismissing entire category of men as inadequate. Start paying attention to how women around me talk about men. Constant criticism and impossible standards presented as preferences. He's cute but only makes $50K, not serious relationship material. Won't date anyone under 6 feet, I have standards. Treating normal human beings like defective products. No consideration for personality, kindness, or compatibility. Visit brother at his apartment, shocked by his living situation. Successful software developer making good money. But lives like monastery monk with minimal possessions. When I ask about dating, he gets visibly uncomfortable. Gave up on that years ago, too much drama and expense. Explains that modern dating costs thousands with minimal results. Spent more on dates last year than my car payment. Describes elaborate expectations for expensive restaurants and activities. While women split checks with female friends regularly. I'm walking ATM machine, not romantic partner. Attend birthday party where conversation turns to relationships. Listen to women share stories about dating experiences. Realize they're describing men like shopping for appliances. Returned him after 3 dates, wasn't meeting my needs. Upgraded to someone with better job and his own place. Talking about human beings like consumer goods. No recognition that men have feelings or deserve consideration. Male friend Tom mentions his recent breakup. Ex-girlfriend left him for coworker who makes more money. 3 years together meant nothing when better option appeared. Women at party immediately blame him for not being provider. Maybe if you made more effort, she wouldn't have left. No sympathy for emotional pain or betrayal he experienced. Assumption that relationships are transactional arrangements. Begin researching male perspectives on modern dating and relationships. Discover online communities where men discuss their frustrations. Expect to find typical misogynist complaints about women. Instead, find detailed analysis of systematic disadvantages, legal bias in divorce and custody proceedings, false accusation risks that destroy careers and reputations, economic expectations that treat men as success objects. We're not angry about equality, we're angry about inequality. Men describing feeling disposable and dehumanized. Start reading academic research about male issues. Discover suicide rates, educational achievement gaps, workplace deaths, homelessness demographics, mental health disparities, systematic areas where men face worse outcomes than women. But these issues never discussed in feminist spaces. When mentioned, dismissed as whataboutism or backlash. Attend men's rights presentation at local community college. Expect to see room full of bitter misogynists. Instead, find diverse group discussing legitimate policy concerns. Fathers who lost custody despite being good parents. Men falsely accused of domestic violence or sexual assault. College students expelled without due process. Veterans struggling with PTSD and homelessness. These aren't angry rants, but documented systematic problems. Afterwards, approach some attendees for honest conversation. We're not mad about women having rights. We're mad about having no rights ourselves. Describe legal and social systems that assume female victimhood. Any male complaint dismissed as attempt to maintain oppression. Try explaining male suicide rates to feminists and watch response. Either blame toxic masculinity or change subject immediately. Male suffering literally unspeakable in progressive spaces. Spend evening reading stories from men who've been destroyed. False rape accusations ending careers before trial. Divorce settlements that leave fathers impoverished and childless. Workplace harassment claims based on misunderstandings. Custody battles where good fathers lose children to vindictive mothers. Pattern of men facing consequences without due process. While women's accusations accepted without evidence, realize this creates climate of fear around female interaction. Attend family dinner where uncle shares his divorce story. Wife cheated throughout marriage but got custody and alimony. He pays most of his income while seeing kids every other weekend. Family court assumes I'm deadbeat dad despite evidence. Works overtime to afford support payments. Meanwhile, ex-wife moved boyfriend into house he pays for. Female relatives blame him for not fighting harder in court. Should have gotten better lawyer or been more involved. No acknowledgement of systematic bias against fathers. Assumption that men deserve whatever legal system gives them. Start questioning feminist narratives I've always accepted. Patriarchy benefits all men at expense of all women. But evidence shows many men facing severe disadvantages. Legal system, educational institutions, social services, all have policies that favor women over men. Maybe male anger isn't about lost privilege, but current discrimination. Cousin Jake visits for weekend, continue conversation about dating. Shows me data about online dating statistics and success rates. Women swipe right on 4% of men. Men swipe right on 60% of women. Top 20% of men get 80% of female attention. Describes feeling invisible and worthless in dating marketplace. I'm average guy and system designed for supermodels and millionaires. Not entitled attitude, but statistical reality of modern dating. Dating apps created winner-take-all sexual economy. Majority of men excluded while small percentage has abundance. Creates understandable frustration among excluded majority. Attend protests about various social issues. Notice signs about women's rights, LGBTQ+ rights, racial justice. No mention of male suicide, educational gaps, custody bias. Suggest adding men's issues to progressive coalition. That's not what we're fighting for right now. Men's problems aren't systemic oppression. Male suffering excluded from social justice framework. Any attempt to include men's issues seen as derailing women's progress. Spend month observing how society treats male pain. Men's emotions dismissed as anger management problems. Male victims blamed for their own victimization. Male struggles attributed to personal failings rather than systems. Meanwhile, female suffering receives immediate attention and resources. Systematic difference in how society responds to gendered problems. Realize that men aren't angry about women having equality. They're angry about not having equality themselves. Legal, educational, social, and romantic systems favor women, while pretending to be neutral or even male-biased. Creates situation where men face discrimination, but can't discuss it without being labeled misogynist. Male anger is rational response to systematic unfairness, not psychological problem or character defect. 6 months of investigation completely changed my perspective. Learned that modern feminism created new forms of inequality, benefiting women while ignoring or worsening male disadvantages. Men's anger isn't about maintaining oppression. It's about being oppressed while society denies it exists. Now advocate for addressing men's issues alongside women's. Lost most feminist friends who see this as betrayal. You've been brainwashed by patriarchal propaganda. Refuse to consider that men might face legitimate discrimination. Learn that true equality requires helping everyone, not just historically disadvantaged groups. Male anger makes sense when you understand male reality. Systematic disadvantages combined with social invisibility creates justified frustration that society refuses to acknowledge.